There we go. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Brian. Hope you're doing well today. It's a Monday, last week of the month, 26th of October today. And I'm going to just run through very quickly what I'm looking at on the Forex side of things. And then in about an hour, I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about futures. But Forex, it's 6:50 my time right now, 7:50 Eastern time. The U.S. Forex session is going to begin in about 10 minutes. So that's why Forex is on the radar. And what we're going to look for here is just an opening session breakout trading opportunity that we can apply. And what we do to look for the morning breakout, it's very simple. We just pull up our currency strength index here, our currency strength meter. We look at which currencies are strong, which currencies are weak. We take the strong currency and a weak currency, we pair those together, and that gives us our potential pairing that we can then go in and figure out which direction we're going to trade and apply that to the market using some really simple strategies. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First things first, always have a look at what news is coming up for the day. I don't look at the news just to trade the news. I look at what news is coming up so I can make a decision if I want to be in the market right at the beginning of the session or if I need to wait 30 minutes, 45 minutes for some high impact news events to get out of the way. This morning, Monday, 26th, we don't have any high impact news coming up that needs to keep us out of the market. And actually most of the week is fairly tame on that morning breakout piece. Thursday, we have advanced GDP on the U.S. that could be impactful. It's a high impact news event. But that's really it. This week's pretty much clear sailing for us for looking at morning breakouts. So with that said, what are we going to look at here? Well, we start over here on our currency strength index, currency strength meter, and we have a look at what's our strong currency, what's our weak currency. And in this case, we can see we've got the pound that's been moving to strength. The red line here is the pound. That's a strong currency. The Aussie has also been a strong currency. The pound is more interesting to me, though, than the Aussie because the Aussie is not actively, well, I mean, it's being traded. Obviously, the currencies trade once the Asian market starts on Sunday all the way through the close of the U.S. market on Friday. But currencies are going to have times of day when they're more active and less active, and those are typically the times of day when that main economy is not participating in the market. So the Aussie right now, while it's a strong currency and has been heavily bought over the course of the day, the Aussie banks, the Aussie market makers, they're sleeping right now. So I think for me, not as much opportunity as there might be on something that's a more active session. So we're coming into the U.S. session, the Canadian session is getting ready to start. So looking at things like the pound, the Swiss, the U.S., the yen, the CAD, the markets that are actually open makes more sense to me. You've got more participants, more volatility, more volume on those currencies. That's what we're going to look at. So the pound, interesting opportunity here, is definitely a strong currency. Now we need something to pair it against. What are we going to pair against the pound? Well, the euro, my brain didn't spit out. I looked at the right line. It didn't spit out the right name. The USD has been hanging right here at the midpoint. So the pound versus the USD, you've got some divergence there. One's weaker, one's moving to strength, one's moving to weakness. We've also got the CAD here, that's a weaker currency. So you've got the pound moving to strength, the CAD moving to weakness. So really, we've got a couple things we could potentially be pairing together. The pound USD or the pound CAD. So we'd want to be buying the pound against either the USD or the CAD. So let's figure out which one are we going to choose, how are we going to make that decision for executing our trade at the market open. So popping over here, looking at my currencies, looking at the potential opportunities we've got the pound USD right here. It's moved 80 pips on the day, and the average is about 120 pips. So there's opportunity for us to look at a breakout, maybe get a quick 20 pips off of that move. What we'd want to see, so that already is good. 80 pips on 140, there's definitely opportunity. There's still room left for that currency pairing to potentially move. Doesn't mean it will move, no, but it could potentially move. So then what we'll want to watch is as the new market begins, we'll want to see if we get some movement up in the direction of that strengthening pound, right? Pound's moving to strength, which we can see over here. So we want to be buying the pound. So we want to see the pound versus the USD going to strength here, going north, being bought. Pound being bought against the USD. So we'd want to see some upward movement, which is in the direction of the current day's trend anyway. But then we'd also want to see our volume detail flip on us to be showing us some green. So we'd want to see the volume of this currency pairing supporting that buying motion, that buying activity on the pound versus the USD. So we'd want to see our volume detail fall into line as well. All right. So it's not quite there yet, but we've still got a little bit of time before the market session begins. Pound CAD, same thing, moved 100 pips on the day. It's about 140 pip range. So again, opportunities there versus its typical range. And it's kind of flat right now, as we can see that same thing over here. Pound is kind of flattened out. The CAD still weakening a bit against this. So what we'll want to see next is as the new session begins, we need to see our volume activity roll over and support that continued buying of the pound CAD. And if that occurs, then we can, once the new session begins, the blue box will appear and we can look to trade buying that pound CAD. So choosing one right now, both of these are kind of in the same boat. They both have good range left on that currency pairing, and both though are showing us some negative on the volume details. So we need to see both one or both of these roll over to show our volume details supporting that continued buying of this. So as we've still got a little bit of time, a couple minutes left before that new session begins. So what we'll be watching for as the 8 o'clock hour rolls over, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Eastern time rolls over, we'll want to see if we get a push over here on the pound moving to strength and the US or the CAD continuing to sell off. Right now it looks like the CAD may be a little better pick between the two simply because it's continuing to move to weakness. But we do need to see a little burst of divergence with our pound continuing to move back to strength and our CAD moving to weakness. And at that point, we'd like to see our volume detail click back into the green. And as that occurs, we can take our breakout trade, watching it, which at this point would be really the top of this level, be making new highs at that point, and it would allow us to continue north. All right, so that's the trading opportunity this morning that I'm looking at on the pound versus the CAD over here in Forex. So there you have it. If you have any questions,